The Matadors love its newest Texas Tech store, offering the official Wreck-'em Tech shirt of the Saddle Tramps. Together, the Matador and the Saddle Tramps are ready to gear you up for Texas Tech football. Buy your Wreck-'em Tech shirt at the Matador for only $15 and feel proud that you are supporting the Saddle Tramps and Texas Tech. Start a new tradition. Stop at the corner and shop the Matador, or shop online at shopthematador.com.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Matador Express. I'm your host, Everett.
And I'm Emma Adams.
Basketball season is tipped off here at Texas Tech with both the men's and women's team getting their seasons underway last Friday night. The Lady Raiders were the first team to play Friday, taking on Jacksonville State and winning that game 67-59.
Okay, Tech was back in action Tuesday against Texas State. They were down by 10 at halftime, but they came back and forced overtime, eventually winning the game by 4. Coach Candy Whittaker had a pretty rough first year as head coach, but Everett, do you think the Lady Raiders will improve this year?
Yeah, you know, they've got Kelsey Baker back in their center position. She was out all of last year with an Achilles injury, and she kind of had some problems. But she got a medical redshirt for that year, which was supposed to be her senior year, and so she's back this year. It gives them a big presence down underneath. She's been able to get rebounds, and she's been one of the top scorers in both their games so far this year, scoring in double digits both times and pulling down rebounds. And also, Tech's had a big presence so far this year from some of their young players. They've got 7 newcomers on the team this year, which is a lot, and maybe it's kind of scary. You know, they're probably not going to win a whole lot of games in the Big 12 Conference, but it was good to see. Last year, Tech had some close games down the stretch, and they weren't able to get any wins in those games because they just ended up throwing them away and making mistakes. So it was good to see this team this year be able to come back and build a lead and hold on to it in those late game situations. It'll be really important once they get into Big 12 play and face some tougher opponents.
The men's team also won its season opener with Tubby Smith defeating his son G.D. Smith's Loyola Maryland Greyhounds 79-67.
Yeah, Tech then went on the road to Louisiana Tuesday night. They were playing around the same time as the women's team, and they went into overtime as well with the LSU Tigers. The Red Raiders were leading most of that game. They ended up losing in overtime after some sloppy play. They turned the ball over a couple times in overtime, and they dropped to 1-1 on the season with that loss.
Both men and women's team will be in action this weekend. Women's taking on Arizona Friday night, and men taking on Missouri State on Saturday.
Yeah, while basketball season is just getting underway, the Red Raider football team is kind of wrapping up their season. They just have 2 games left. Last weekend, Tech lost to Oklahoma 42-30 and ended up as kind of a rough loss. It was senior day, so all those seniors had to go out without getting a win in their last game at Jones AT&T Stadium. They also secured a losing season and lost their chances at a bowl game. Dropped to 3-6 on the season. With only 2 games left, they can't get to the 6 wins that are required for bowl eligibility. Freshman quarterback Patrick Mahomes started that game for the Red Raiders and in place of Davis Webb, who's kind of recovering. Cliff said he's at 80% right now, so maybe he'll be back at 100% this weekend. But Mahomes played pretty well. If you look at just his stat line, you wouldn't maybe think that the Red Raiders lost. He completed 27 of 50 pass attempts for 394 yards. He threw 4 touchdown passes. So what did you think of Mahomes' performance in that game?
I think he did great. I think Cliff was very complimentary. He always says that he extends plays well. He has a sharp eye on the field, and he kind of is not afraid to do things like running the balls.
Yeah. What I saw mainly, you talked about him extending play with those feet. There was a couple plays that were called back because of offensive line holdings, but if those 2 touchdown plays hadn't been called back where he had extended it with his feet, Tech would have had. He would have had 6 touchdown passes, which is incredible, and Tech it would have been a very different ball game then. If you had your choice, you think you would start Mahomes this week, or you would start 100% Davis Webb?
I think we should start Mahomes just to see what his reaction would be to Iowa State, but if it's not going well, I don't think it's a problem if we put in Webb.
Yeah. The Red Raiders will be on the road this Saturday against Iowa State for their second to last game of the season. Kickoff of that game is going to be at 2:30 in Ames, and the game will air on Fox Sports Net. That wraps up this episode of Matador Express. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.